Hi again, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. I am Dan Scott, the voice of the Paladins. Good to have you with us, and as we record this, man, it is a gorgeous Tuesday morning here on the beautiful campus of Furman University. Just a kind of day in the spring, I guess late winter technically, that this guy likes because it's a good day to be on the links. Matt Davidson, former Paladin, Hall of Famer, men's golf coach here at Furman, is our guest this week. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a nice day. It can be a little hit or miss this time of year, so you have to take advantage of days like this if you're a golfer.
At least you're not trying to coach in Minnesota.
That's right.
Or someplace like that, right?
Yeah, you need some indoor facilities.
So how you been?
I've been good, doing well. Yeah, had a good off season. Our guys used the month of November to really kind of work on some more long-term things, workouts, strength training, catch up on their studies, and then December they're home for a month. So it's been good to have them back for about 4 weeks now, and back into kind of full swing of things, practice-wise and qualifying, and taking advantage of days like this.
Is that where a coach and his players have to have a really good trust system when they're gone for a month, and you have to trust that they're going to still do what they need to do when they're not on campus and around all of the facilities and things that they have here?
Yeah, absolutely. Summer as well. You know, they're on their own for 3 or 4 months in the summer, and that's when you can make a lot of gains as a college golfer. And you try to you recruit the right guys that have that self motivation and discipline passion to want to see how good they can get. So they've got to do a lot of that on their own.
Well, let's recap a little bit of the fall and just kind of catch us up to where we are now, because golf is one of those sports that has the fall season and the spring season. So tell me about your fall just in general terms.
Yeah, so like you said, Dan, the fall and the spring, they both count the exact same for rankings, for postseason, at-large bids, things like that. Our conference championships in April. So that is in the spring, but yeah, we play half the season in the fall, half in the spring. The fall was very successful. We had a good fall. We played 5 tournaments, finished in the top 6 in all 5 of them. So a lot more wins than losses. You know, fields are usually 14 to 18 teams. Couple ones where we were in contention, came in 3rd place at Wake Forest event, 4th place at SMU's event out in Dallas. So we're in contention late in a few events, which is a great learning experience. Always where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the fall ranked 58th in the nation, which is pretty darn good. we will take that for sure. And then we had Will Moreland had a phenomenal fall. He kind of led the way, sophomore from Alpharetta, Georgia, and then we had 3 other seniors, Sam Late, Ross Funderburk, Walker Crosby, played in every tournament and did well in the fall as well. So solid, good fall.
So you've got a really good core of senior leadership, don't you?
We do, yeah. So they've so we've got 4 guys: Reynolds, Lambert, Ross Funderburk, Sam Late, Walker Crosby, and all 4 of them have gotten a good bit of playing time throughout their whole career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd say Ross and Walker especially have been in there since their freshman year. So, but Sam and Reynolds have played a ton too. So at this point, a ton of experience. Yeah.
How does that translate into not just a success in the actual matches, but what it means for the other guys on your roster, what it means for the overall direction of your program?
It's nice, yeah. Especially guys like that work hard and practice the right way, and it's easy. Makes it for the coaches, makes our jobs a little bit easier when you've got seniors that are in the lineup, are playing well, and are doing the right thing in practice. You know, I think, you know, as a team culture, it's nice when your players are leading the way, and it's not always the coach trying to drive the work ethic and things like that. So it's helpful on and off the course.
So you lived it obviously as a player, collegially and professionally for a number of years. Is that something that when you recruit a kid, can you identify projected leadership qualities when you're recruiting someone?
You try, yeah. You try to do your best. You want to speak to coaches, instructors in golf, high school coaches. You know, if you have people that know the student, the recruit personally, it's kind of nice to get that reference, and then you spend a lot of time, getting to know the student, have them on campus, meet them in person, things like that. So you do your absolute best. I mean, I think all of our coaches were trying to check that box off pretty much first, right at the top of the list. And I'd say especially in golf, because you can improve a good bit over the course of your time in college, but you're only going to do that if you're a hard worker and want to get better.
But it's not an exact science, is it?
No,
because you're dealing with
guesswork.
human beings.
Yeah, human beings, and you only have so much time to really get to know a recruit during that process. So you're using some gut instincts and some feel in there as well, and it's not an exact science.
So does what you were able to accomplish as a player, collegiately and professionally, does that help you in that inexact science, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it probably helps more with when I'm watching the recruits play a little bit, seeing some things that I like to see in a player, and the way their shots come off and their swings and fundamentals and things like that. And the work habits, I do feel like I certainly know what it's going to take, so I can kind of try to find out as much as I can about their practice habits and things like that. But when they get on campus is when you really find out, and I'm a little bit of guesswork, just like everybody else, as far as that's concerned.
And then the one thing that we always try to point out when you're talking about young players in any sport coming onto this campus, there are a lot of schools that tout their academics. At Furman, we know it's a real deal, and you can warn incoming freshmen about what academics here are like. When they get here, they find out that even as much as they've been told doesn't really paint the whole picture for them. So you have to take that in consideration when you are bringing young men into your program as well. Can they handle the student part of being a student athlete here at this university? Yeah,
it's tough academically. Yeah, absolutely. I think all the coaches here are certainly trying to check that box off as well, and not just for you. You want to bring in the right kind of students that are gonna thrive here at Furman academically and appreciate the education, but you also want guys that are going to be able to balance the two, so they can spend as much time as they're going to need to spend on their golf, and be able to manage the time of both of those things.
Visiting with Matt Davidson on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics, talking about the men's golf program. We talked about those seniors, the young man who led you in your first event of the spring season, the one that just wrapped up, the Haight, was Will Moreland, a sophomore. Talk about him and his progression in your program in his second year.
Yeah, so Will was a great junior golfer. He was certainly a top recruit of ours, and we were excited about him coming in last year as a freshman. He broke his collarbone in I think it was July or August, right before he got here. He was kind of a lake water sports activity. So he came in and he wasn't really able to play until the last two tournaments of the fall. Got in the lineup, got his feet wet, and then had a productive spring. He was in the lineup, so he got a lot of experience in the spring. He was struggled a little bit with his putting, a little bit with his short game. I think those were the two areas he needed to take the biggest step forward. But it's tough to adjust as a freshman. Just in general, it's another level of golf. Courses are harder. Competitions is obviously better. So he took kind of the natural, I think, progression his freshman year. He was all conference freshman team, but for him, for his expectations, he was a little disappointed, but he got a lot of playing time, and then had a solid, productive summer, and then just really took off this fall. And, he's always hit the ball really well. He's kind of taken some steps as far as wedges and short irons and trajectory control, but then his short game, his putting, got a lot better too.
It's something that every athlete, regardless of the sport, has to learn, and that is how to deal with adversity. You say he wasn't playing as well as he wanted to. Well, A, you got an injury, and B, Division I college golf is not high school golf or junior golf. I mean, you're stepping into a whole new world. We talk about it with basketball players all the time. Specifically, everybody was the man on their high school team,
exactly.
and now you come and everybody that you're competing against was the man on their team as well. So I'm assuming that translates into what we're talking about here to a certain degree.
Yeah, and And when you come in with high expectations, like Will did with his, was a great junior golfer. It's good because it'll drive you, and you hold yourself to high standards. But you need to stay long term with your process and your progression too, and not get too wrapped up in the ups and downs starting off, especially as a freshman. So he did a good job with that, and just kept kind of chipping away at it and getting a lot of experience, and then took his big step this fall.
Is that something else that you can identify with when you see someone struggling, especially a younger player who's maybe facing that adversity for the first time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we James and I, my assistant coach, he does a great job as well. We watch these guys qualify a lot against each other. We watch them practice, and some. It's different for everybody. Sometimes it's mental and realizing like, wow, this is pretty darn competitive compared to high school golf. But some, a lot of times it's just physical things they need to work on. Whether it's ball striking, driving, certainly a lot of short game, improvements that take place for the most part in college. So a little different for everybody, but it's I think golf, if you're working on the right things, you can keep improving until you're in your 40s, let alone this 17 to 22 year age that you can take. I mean, if you're working on the right stuff, you really should be taking pretty big steps.
Right.
At this age.
And maybe this is too general a question, and if it is, you can tell me. But your experience, what is the most difficult transition for a golfer coming into a Division I program from high school and from junior golf when they get to the collegiate level at Division I? What's the biggest roadblock in their progression that they normally run into and have to overcome?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, because it's a little of everything, and it is a little different for every guy. I'd say the biggest things I've seen since I've been here, course management, is usually a big step that they need to take as far as managing a golf course, decision making on the golf course, and then tee to green ball striking courses are longer, more difficult, more wind, especially in the spring, things like that. So normally some things we need to kind of clean up as far as just repeating a ball flight and just getting more efficient, tee to green. Then short game is definitely something that we've seen that, we're lucky to have a great short game facility here where they can spend, as much time as they want, getting great around the greens. And that's there hadn't been too many guys that set foot here as freshmen where you're like, wow, short games, that's as good as it's going to be. I mean, they all need to keep getting better with the short game too. So yeah, those three things.
So the old golf axiom is true: drive for show and putt for dough.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got to drive it well too. Yeah, you got to do it all. But yeah, I'd say course management. Definitely some tee to green, some short game is what our guys usually need to keep working on.
Matt Davidson with us, men's golf coach here at Furman, on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. Talked about having 4 seniors, and we were going to talk a little bit about recruiting and what the future holds. And you were telling me right before we started that 2 of those 4 are actually going to come back next year, correct?
Yeah, so Walker Crosby and Ross Funderburk will be coming back for a 5th year. They're going to take care of some stuff academically and finish up their degrees here, and then also want to use this extra year they've been given. This is really a COVID extra year because they played a good bit their first 4 years. They're going to use that year to keep getting ready to play professional golf too. So excited to have both of them coming back, and they've been they're our captains this year, and they'll be 2-year captains and good leaders.
That's good. So recruiting going well?
It is, yeah. So we signed 2 players for coming in next fall. Walter Anderson from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Fisher Kennedy from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Both awfully strong players are actually here on campus this past weekend, kind of getting to know the guys a little bit more, taking a visit, and they're excited about both of them in the fall, and not just making an impact golf wise, but I think they're going to fit in great with our culture.
Well, that's good. Let's talk about what's coming up. Well, first of all, the Haight overall didn't play very well. Will I think finished 9th?
Yeah, Will came in 11th.
11th. Okay,
he played well.
11th.
Yeah.
It was that just a we've had a month off hangover for your team, or what was it?
It was a rough final round, so we were actually in very good shape
Yeah.
after 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good field. After 2 rounds, we were I think we were ahead. We were beating Alabama by a few shots, which would have been a great win, and I think we were tied with Arkansas. And a lot of strong teams. It was a strong field. I think we were in 6th place, and just struggled a little bit the final round. Will hung in there and played great the final round. Kind of carried us there that last round, and but we had a bunch of guys play well the second round. Sam Late played well the first round, so it was a little of everybody. And then the last round, tough golf course, windy, a lot of trouble. So yeah, good learning experience. Dropped back a couple spots. Still had a couple good wins in there. Still kind of hung on against Arkansas, which they're an awfully good team, and no real bad losses either. So it didn't kill us, but I think after 2 rounds we were all hoping for a little bit more.
It's just like anything else in sports. You're just looking for consistency. You have guys who played well 1 of 3 days, guys who played well 2 of 3 days.
Exactly.
And to be elite, you have to play well all 3 days.
Yeah, and even Will had his struggles in the first round, and then you can kind of see how much he's improved, and for him to be able to, not have a rough start like that in a course that hard, and then come back all the way to 11th place. He did great too.
So coming up in early March, you've got the Palmetto Intercollegiate, which is next, and then the General Hackler, which is right after that. So you start getting into a rhythm again of playing pretty much every weekend or every other weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll play 5 tournaments then between the beginning of March and the SoCon Championship in the middle of April. So it gets into much more of a rhythm. So yeah, excited. Palmetto is a fantastic golf course. The guys love playing that course. It's a great tournament. There's the field is solid, a little top heavy. I think we'll be one of the best teams there. So that's always a different challenge when you go into a tournament.
And that's down in Aiken, right?
That's in Aiken, yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't say with a bullseye on our back, because we're not probably quite to that point yet. But certainly one of the better teams there. And then at the General Hackler, that's Coastal Carolina's event. That'll be probably one of our strongest fields of the whole year. So that'll be a great challenge, and a lot of SECs, ACC teams, and great tournament there. So that'll be a good one too. And the Hootie at Bulls Bay, South Carolina's event, the end of March is a good one. And then Vanderbilt, we're going to play their event the second week of April, which they're probably the best team in the nation on their home course. That'll be pretty terrifying how well they'll play on their home course. They were at the Haight. They actually won, and the numbers they put up on the golf course we were playing down there at Sawgrass Country Club was pretty impressive. It's a little bit of a different level. We got to keep chipping away to try to get there.
Yeah, but that you want to be challenged, right?
Yeah. They're I think they're number one team in the nation.
Yeah.
So it's just good to kind of be in the field with them, and you see where you stack up sometimes.
Seems like you're excited about this team, about this program.
I am. Yeah. So we it was like I said, it was a good fall, but it was interesting because I felt like there was room for improvement as well. A couple of the seniors, although they did play well, I know they wanted a little bit more, and then we've got a lot of young guys that are kind of knocking on the door, trying to get in the lineup, that have a lot of talent too. So it was despite how solid it was, I felt like there's still some room for improvement. I think that makes coaches pretty exciting.
But before we get into wrap-up mode here, have you had the new indoor facility long enough to see it start making an impact on your players?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah, especially this time of year.
Because it's just been, the last year or so?
Yeah, we've had it for since last November,
right.
So a year and a couple months. Yeah, it's really nice this time of year for sure. And not every day is like it is today. So they get much more consistent practice, and then the technology we have in there, the putting, we got a SAM putt lab and a putting platform and a TrackMan and a swing catalyst, all this kind of technical things that the guys have been able to use and without getting over bogged down in technical information, being able to take one or two kind of key things from learning a little bit about their swings and strokes from the technology we have in there too. So it's yeah, you can tell it's making a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting because baseball and I see it at the professional level doing the Greenville Drive games. More and more of the video stuff. It's amazing what they're even doing at the single A level at Floor Field. They've got 30 cameras.
Yeah.
So they're analyzing every angle of the swing and every angle of a pitcher's motion and breaking down all of this stuff and being able to show them, what they're doing and what they're not doing, what's repeatable, what's not repeatable, and giving them all of this information, which on one hand is good. On the other hand, I think you can get paralysis by analysis if you're not careful. So I hear you saying that use some of it, but don't get bogged down by it.
Definite double-edged sword.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's I think it helps to do it with your instructor or with your coach. Especially in golf, because they can maybe help you kind of prioritize the one or two things to take away from a lesson where you get on. In golf, it's the TrackMan is, and obviously swing video has been around for a long time.
But as a player, would you have liked access to all of the current technology?
Yeah, I would have, and it would have made certain parts of my practice a lot easier and more efficient. This TrackMan it tracks your radar technology that tracks your golf ball and tells you exactly how far it went every time you hit it. So it's nice to do work on distance control, hit your wedges. You just hit a ball and you look down and you see it went 85 yards, 100 yards, 110 yards, versus when I was pacing off baskets and buckets and putting them in the ground at 90, 100, 110, 120, and hitting my shag bag like that. I'm not like ancient, but 15, 20 years ago, that's what we were doing. We were pacing off and hitting the buckets. So makes certain parts easier, but I also think it kind of simplified my swing a little bit for me. I knew when I swung.
And back when you played, the golf course was uphill both ways.
That's right. Yeah, it has changed a lot, but it's only been. I stopped when I stopped playing I guess 5 to 7 years ago now. TrackMan were around, but they weren't as commonly used as they are now.
Right.
Now it's just a standard piece of equipment, it seems like.
You take everything that's out there that's available and use it to a point where it's having a positive effect. But again, I go back to, really all sports now, not just baseball, but at the college professional level, analytics is so much, football, baseball, basketball especially. And sometimes, again, you can go all in on that stuff, and does it have its place? Yeah, but you can see evidence of it in some sports that teams that totally marry themselves to that when it comes time to do things in the postseason and the game changes and the way you have to manage it or coach it changes, they can't do it.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a tool, and you want to use it to your advantage, but you have to be careful what you do so you don't bog yourself down.
Oh, for sure. I think in golf it makes guys chase perfection a little more than really the best players don't have perfect swings. They just repeat it every single time. They're good through impact, and then they repeat it, and that's the key is repeating.
Well, you got to be careful of that.
Play, repeating the same.
Yeah. Be careful of that too, because Charles Barkley repeats his swing all the time, and we've seen that one, right?
Yeah. Talking about guys that can actually swing it.
Okay,
I
know.
He's gotten better though. He's not as terrible as he used to be.
Trying to be funny and failed. So, anything else we need to talk about before we get out of here? It sounds like you're enthused about the potential of this team as we hit the spring and head toward the SoCon in late April.
Yeah, we're all excited about it. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting last 5 events. We're 58th in the ranking still. The hate actually kept us at the exact same spot, and the top 60 usually make at-large bids, about 60, depending on who gets automatic bids. Any bids are still stolen, things like that. But usually about 60 make the NCAA tournament for an at-large bid. So we're definitely going to view that as just an opportunity. It's just a great opportunity to go out there and try to get it done. Not thinking about it too much, just prepare the best we can, and then go play great. So it's a great opportunity. And then obviously the conference championship is that's kind of your second opportunity. We do have interestingly competitive men's golf conference in the Southern Conference. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with that. I know it's a bit of a niche sport sometimes, but we have 8 teams, and 5 of them are ranked in the top 85 in the country right now, and the other 3 aren't too far out of the top 100.
Makes it fun, though, doesn't it?
It makes it fun.
Every time you go out, you've got to be on top of your game.
You do. So, I mean, sometimes there's a few of us that are like, well, if we were in one of those conferences where we were always the clear-cut favorite, you can get that automatic bid a heck of a lot easier. But it raises the level of everybody, and it's a nice, credibility, respect factor when you're in a conference that's that competitive with teams like East Tennessee State and Chattanooga and UNC Greensboro's had a strong team too, and we're obviously doing well. So it's competitive.
That's good stuff.
Yep.
Next time out is, as we just pointed out a moment ago, is coming up on March 6th and 7th at the Palmetto Intercollegiate down in Aiken, and then the 13th and 14th, the General Hackler Championship in Myrtle Beach. As with all of the competition, you'll be able to get the info and follow the action at FurmanPaladins.com, and I suppose that at some juncture, if there's some television coverage coming up, we'll know about that too, right?
Yeah. I don't think any of those are going to do any sort of TV coverage like that, so we'll have to hopefully make a run in the NCAAs. Get on TV. Yep.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man. It's good to see you
Thanks,
again.
Dan.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
That is Matt Davidson, and we have been talking men's golf here on Inside Furman Athletics. Next week, JD the AD is back, Jason Donnelly's monthly visit, so you can get your questions ready for him, and we'll be putting that out next Tuesday as well. This has been Inside Furman Athletics. Thank you for joining us. For Matt Davidson, I'm Dan Scott, as always, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.